Hey guys, it's Fred and Sheila McCoy with the Hatfield McCoy Museum in Liberty, Kentucky. FredMcCoy.com. Sheila's behind the camera.
Hi guys, hope you're having a great day.
Just going to be a short video, just once again scanning the internet and YouTube and watching some of these comments that people make concerning the Hatfield McCoy feud, especially Devil Ants and Randall McCoy here over my shoulder. And you know, it's funny, I don't know, sometimes I think people does it just for comedy or to see how much people will actually bleed, but one of the comments was that the joke was on the detectives that were trying to find the Hatfields and bring Devil Ants to justice when the warrant was put out for them, because he was never found. They never got him, and the lady was bragging that they had never captured Devil Ants and how slick he was. Well, he wasn't slick, people. Devil Ants was a coward. Devil Ants was a smart coward. He hid. You know, there's people that's hid for years and years, and the law gets them late in life or never gets them at all. That's, you know, again, there was another article I read where they said the Hatfields won. Well, again, we don't think nobody won, but did he really win? He may have killed more McCoys, but did he win? If the law never got him, that means he was hiding in caves and hiding out in all these different places and always on the move. And did he really win when he's not home with his family and he's out on the run? So, I mean, you can look at it like that. Everybody's got their own opinion. But Devil Ants wasn't that smart of a man that he got away with it. He stayed on the run. He had other people run his logging for him, and he would stay in the background or in his fort or where he had protection. And even later on in life, he still done the same thing. He was always looking over his shoulder. So I don't think that he really won when it comes to that. Another one of them says that was in that the detectives was looking for, and this was in 98 or 89 something. I forget what the date was on it. But they said that they were looking for detectives. They were trying to recruit people to bring Devil Ants to justice, and Cap and Johnsy and all these, and they named all these people. Well, Johnsy, Wall, and Cotton Top had already been brought to justice. Those were three. Says none of the Hatfields were ever brought to justice. Well, yeah, Wall Hatfield died in prison. Johnsy Hatfield served several years in prison and supposedly got out for saving the warden or some heroic act. Now, it's about like Cap Hatfield's law degree. None of us has ever seen one newspaper article that says anything about Johnsy rescuing the warden. Wouldn't you think that would be a big newspaper article if something like that really did happen? Maybe we've overlooked it. Again, Sheila and I are not perfect.
Nope.
We could have overlooked it. Maybe out there. If it is, I wish somebody'd find it and show it to us. But we've never seen nothing where Johnsy saved the warden's life. We think maybe at Devil Ants, just like he offered money to the McCoys at one time to drop the warrants on them, we think he's probably got Johnsy out of jail. He's paid some politician off in West Virginia, and they've helped with that. Or that's our opinion. Nothing more than an opinion. And but we've never seen nothing where he saved the warden's life. We know Wall died in prison. So there's at least three Hatfields. Cotton Top, Ellison Hatfield Mounts, he was hung. Wall died in prison, and Johnsy served several years in prison. So there's at least three of them that was brought to justice. Now, of course, Devil Ants and Cap was never brought to justice, along with several others. But, you know, I guess Cap was away in law school at this time. I see this, and I'm not even looking at her. You know, there's a thing in here that says that Frank Phillips was when he was killed, he was buried next to his wife. That's not true. Frank Phillips' wife, Nancy McCoy, Hatfield Phillips, she died after
Frank.
Frank, thank you, dear. She died after Frank. So she may have been buried next to Frank, but Frank wasn't buried next to her. Or Frank may have been buried next to where she was going to be buried, but either way,
He passed first.
he passed first.
And then
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
Uncle Jim Vance. The guy's talking about Jim Vance here. I seen on my Facebook page. I don't have very few friends, and John Vance is one of them.
Yeah.
And I seen where he fell, and he's in the hospital in ICU. And of course, John's getting up in the years now. But John's the one that Ron McCoy and Bo McCoy filed the bogus lawsuit against over his property, put him through pure hell. You know, John, I'm going to talk about Jim Vance here in a minute, but when I seen Vance, it reminded me about him falling, him being in the hospital.
We hope he gets better.
Of course, Sheila loves, he's just a sweet fella, and or he was to us. You know, everybody's got their personalities and all this and that, and I think it's a whole lot to do with how you treat people. You treat people the way you want to be treated. And I think that's what happened with Ron and Bo. I think they come up there wanting to make him do something, and it didn't happen. And that's the sad thing, because the times that me and Sheila and I went to the graveyard up there to visit, he would come out, show us a poem that he wrote, which was going to be a song.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was good, and I've never heard of it since, so he's just put it to the wayside. And he was big into the feud and his great-grandfather's history. He told us stories about that he heard when he was a boy, standing outside the window, and he'd listen to his parents and grandparents on the inside talking about his great-grandfather, Jim Vance. And they didn't know he was out there listening, but he heard all the stories about some of the things that Jim said when they were at the pawpaw tree shooting and different things.
Some things he said and done, yeah.
Yeah, he was a wealth of knowledge when it come to Jim Vance.
He was, John was very, very sweet.
And you know, I'm sorry to...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry,
And
baby.
he told us, like you said, all kinds of stories.
I'm bad for that. She'll be talking.
They're really interesting, though. Go ahead.
I cut her off all the time.
No, you're okay.
Now I forgot my train of thought. That's
See?
why I
That's
cut
why
you
you-
off.
We was talking about Jim Vance, him listening to Jim Vance.
Either way, I just seen the Jim Vance's name, and okay, I seen one story where it said that Frank Phillips once belonged to the Jesse James gang. And I seen another story where he also worked for the Pinkertons, the private detective agency. And guys, I was going to say earlier in a comment, you know, we've got a board downstairs. We've got a movie on there, a video. It's only got 100 views probably. It's on a short, I believe it is, but it's got very few views. And because I don't think people can see the board and what it says, but it's saying, is these documents real? And it's showing newspaper documents, how you can go online and you can order a newspaper document to say whatever you want it to say in whatever year that you want it to say. They'll make a newspaper article, they'll put the date up there, 1880.
Wow.
They'll put the old type print like it's skipping words or skipping letters, and it looks like it's authentic. And that's the sad thing about today. If we haven't seen nothing by now, and all the research that Sheila and I have done in the years, and everybody else for that matter, up to probably 5 years ago, if we didn't see it before then, and it's produced today, and all of a sudden you see these articles coming up, look at them real close. Look at them real close, because they're probably fake. They're probably from the internet, where you can order, just like you can order your picture on the front page of Time Life magazine or whatever you want. You can order old newspapers with the date on them that you want, and put your story on the inside. So be leery when you see stories like that. But to our knowledge, Frank Phillips was never in the James gang, and he never worked for the Pinkertons. Now, again, we could be wrong on this, but we would have to see proof, and we'd have to see something dated of that time, and it would have to be something that's not a newspaper article or that we could actually Google. I don't like to just take newspaper articles that people send us, Sheila and I don't, and take it at its
face value.
Face value. Thank you. We don't like to do that. Now, we can take it at its face value, and it says Chicago Tribune, February the 17th, 1947. Then we can go to the Chicago Tribune, we can go to the library, get the microfilm down and look at that date. And if it's on that microfilm and it's there, then of course it's probably real. It probably, no doubt, came from the newspaper. But if they send you a newspaper article and you look at it and then you go look for that newspaper on that date, specific time, or the day of the week, and you can't find it, something wrong.
Good point.
Once again, I see where somebody had commented about Wall Hatfield had turned himself in. I don't know how many times. I don't want to harp on it because our viewers, I'm sure they've seen some of our other videos where we show you the papers where Frank Phillips actually collected $100 in bond money for his where he captured them, bounty. $100 in bounty money, where Frank Phillips actually arrested him. In fact, Selkirk says in the newspaper downstairs that they were all working on the farm when they come to Wall's farm and arrested them. Frank Phillips did, and they were arrested, and they didn't put up a fight, it says.
Okay.
Another story that I saw on there was, the funny thing about these is some very interesting history. I see that statement a lot, where somebody will post on these Facebook pages or on something, and somebody else from California, Ohio, somewhere away that don't know the history, and they think what they're reading is facts, and they say, great history. Thanks for the history lesson. Very interesting history. Well, it's very interesting talk or very interesting writing maybe to you, but I don't make it history. Just because it's on there, that old saying about just because it's on the internet don't make it true. But anyway, and the other thing is, there was a story about Frank Phillips. It says Frank Phillips was killed by the Branham brothers. And see, that's where people don't get their history correct. Franklin Phillips was killed by those two guys. And he shot one of them back, but he ended up dying. Franklin Phillips, not Frank Phillips. Franklin Phillips was Frank Phillips' son. He's the one Sheila and I showed you in one of the videos that she done, where he's on the memorial in Pike County.
The police memorial?
At the Pike County Courthouse on the...
Police memorial?
Yeah.
Yep.
Behind the courthouse, the big black monument. And it's got his name on it. In fact, I think it says Frank Phillips. And that may be what throws some people off when they see Frank Phillips. That's not the Frank Phillips. That's not the state trooper, state police officer, the state officer that had statewide jurisdiction. That's not Frank Phillips that shot and killed Jim Vance. That Frank Phillips that was killed by the two brothers is actually Frank Phillips' son, Franklin Phillips Jr. And again, we find this interesting. I don't mean he was in the James gang. It just means that Frank Phillips was around and going on with the Hatfield-McCoy feud at the same time that Jesse and Frank James was going around robbing banks. And again, that's where Devil Anse got some of his stuff at. A lot of Civil War people, a lot of Cantrell. There's a little place here in Casey County called Butcher Holler. And if you'll do your history on it, has nothing to do with the Hatfields and McCoys. I'm off topic, but we do drift.
That's okay.
But anything that's history and we find interesting, we love. But it's called Butcher Holler. And a lot of the locals don't even know why it's called Butcher Holler. We researched it years ago, and it's called Butcher Holler because Cantrell, a bunch of his men and guys deserted during the Civil War, and they went over to that holler. It wasn't named Butcher Holler at the time. It was just a holler.
Just a holler.
And they were desperados or whatever you want to call them. But they killed women and children, and burnt their places down, just like devil ants. Just like devil ants did to a lot of people under the color of the Logan Wildcats. But they did that over, and that ended up Bloody Butcher Holler, they call that. And that's what it was from. So it wasn't just Jesse and Frank James or Cole Youngers or Black Barton, all these people at that time. The Devil Ants Hatfield. There was all kinds of people that got out of the Civil War and didn't know how they were going to make it at that time, and they robbed and stole from other people. Thing about Jesse James, he stole from banks, where a Devil Ant stole from individuals, or especially people that he didn't like, or whatever. So, but other than that, it's Fred and Sheila McCoy. Sheila, you got anything?
Just no to say, except for please like, subscribe,
No.
and share. No.
No.
I don't have anything to say. I think you covered everything that you wanted to cover there.
All
so
right. We're upstairs. Over there's the Godey's corner, Godey's Hardware,
signs over the top,
which was Wall Hatfield's daughter. It was Devil Ance's niece, Sissy Browning, was it?
Yeah.
And somewhere in here is her picture. We've shown
Right
it
there.
before. And in fact, if you'll see that bonnet she's got on right there.
That's her in the bonnet here.
Yeah. And where is that bonnet up here?
Right here.
There it is, right here beside of it. There's the bonnet that she's wearing. Can't see for that light. There's her bonnet. And over here,
With her boots and her purse.
that's her boots from the 1800s, late 1800s.
She wore those, yeah.
Her boots and her purse.
Yeah.
And once again, we marked a lot of things with photographs. You know, some people says, what's all these photographs? Well, that's how we, when you got as much stuff as we've accumulated over the years, not counting what Mom and Grandma accumulated, it's hard to keep up with, especially as we get older. And there's the bed that was in the first room there for Johnsy or Cap or Jim Vance. That's where they would have slept, in that bed. And Devil Ance's bed, of course, is downstairs. And that's the bed that bed downstairs was in that window right there against that wall. All right, guys, that's about it. It's Fred and Sheila McCoy, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye. Have a great evening.
So much for